The movie starts with the woman who drank a vial of blue serum, then start to change physical appearance, and strange spikes grew from her elbows. She gained the ability to climb walls and rooftops. She wanted to reverse the effects of the drug, but discovered that it had become the key to saving humanity. Restoration in the distant future. Earth is increasingly polluted. The air is filled with deadly toxins. Ethera Technologies has developed a drug called AIR-Emity, which helps people breathe clean air, but not everyone can handle it. The drug has not been officially approved for use either. The heroine Ella is a fashion model under Ethera's supervision. Her mother committed suicide a year ago. The anniversary of her death is approaching. Ella está de mal humor. Her boyfriend Max and her best friend Gina plan to confess their betrayal to her. Gina remembers that the anniversary of Ella's mother's death is approaching. They decide to postpone it for a few days first. Max and his partner are preparing for a party tonight. They go to the drug dealer to buy some excitement, but they are turned away at the door. Gina makes up an excuse to go to the bathroom. She enters the drug dealer's house with Max. Gina hid in the bathroom for half a day without coming out. The dealer went to check on her, and Max took the opportunity to sneak into the warehouse. Unexpectedly, he stumbled upon a drug manufacturing workshop. They seemed to be trying some blue liquid. After one of them drank a drop, he immediately showed a look of enjoyment. Max thought that this might be a good thing and quietly took a bottle. On the other hand, Ella finished her work and went home. She was lost in thought, looking at the magazine that her mother used to photograph. She had now become a darling in the advertising world, mainly because of her mother's fame. At that moment, her father called via video chat. At this moment, he was away in Africa, defending the poor people. I can't be with my daughter on the anniversary of my wife's death. He couldn't help but comfort Ella through the call, telling her not to stay alone tonight and to go out and talk to friends. After some hesitation, Ella decided to attend her friend Max's party. At the same time, he was hiding in the bathroom with Gina, preparing to try the new things they had just gotten. Unexpectedly, Ella caught them before they could act. His best friend and his friend betrayed her, putting Ella in a bad mood. The three of them got into a huge argument. Max chose to follow Gina away. Ella saw the test tube they left behind, picked it up and drank it all. This wasn't a drugs, it was a biological agent still under development. If taken in high doses, it could trigger a fatal immune response. Eric, Ethera's boss, was testing the synthetic formula 63, but each time the lab rats died during the neutralization phase. Fortunately, Ella's body was tested. She forced herself to get up and sit in the bathtub. A huge transformation was taking place inside her body. Shortly after, Max discovered that the vial of the new stuff had been left in the bathroom. He was about to go back to get it when the dealer happened to arrive. Max rushed to the bathroom, and Ella quickly hid in the bathtub. Hearing the noise, Max was beaten up because he couldn't find the drug. He could only explain that he must have been taken by someone at the party. The merchant immediately took his men to search. Only then did Ella dare to get out of the bathtub. She told Max that I had already drunk this medicine. Max rushed to close the door, obviously preparing to report. Max quickly returned with the merchant, but Ella was nowhere to be found. The dealer thought he had been tricked and grabbed Max, ready to teach him a lesson. Unexpectedly, Max took the opportunity to pick up a gun. He pointed the gun and threatened, but he didn't have the courage to shoot. The dealer quickly fought him off. After a struggle, Max accidentally shot himself in the thigh. The merchant was worried that the gunshot would attract the police and quickly abandoned Max and left the party. One of the women even helped him bandage his wound. Shortly after Max regained consciousness, he saw Ella hiding on the ceiling. He quickly asked her how she got up there, but Ella didn't know either. She was just following her body's instincts. Max noticed the red marks on Ella's wrist and quickly asked what they were. Ella replied, "Isn't this the drug you brought? How did I know it would cause such a big reaction?" After saying this, she went to open the lock, but after fiddling for a long time, it didn't work. Frustrated, Ella slammed the door panel, and surprisingly, she broke a large hole in the door. She went out of the room to check the situation, only to find that the group hadn't left yet. Ella tuvo que buscar otra salida. She stepped on the bathtub, shattering the tempered glass. She threw the mask to Max and led him out through the roof opening. Ella took a light jump and jumped to another building. Max tried to imitate her, but he almost fell and died. It was obvious that Ella's body was evolving. The dealer, who heard the noise and followed after her, happened to witness this scene. Max panicked when he saw the pursuers. He fell straight down to the basement. The dealer tried to talk to Ella, wanting to know how much drugs she had taken. He even said, "We can help you." Unfortunately, Ella didn't trust him. She jumped downstairs directly to check on Max's condition. Gina accused Ella, asking her why she pushed Max down. Ella got up and ran away because the merchants were still trying to catch her. Ella gracefully climbed into the courtyard, narrowly avoiding being hit by a passing car. The person in the car was her fiancé, David. When David saw Ella unconscious, he picked her up and drove off. However, this David was not a gentleman. He took Ella to her home and wanted to do something bad. Unexpectedly, Ella saw the litigant consciousness. She scratched David's face. Ella noticed that sharp thorns were growing from her elbows. David, frightened, rushed out the door. She hurried to the bathroom to check. She discovered that her body was undergoing mutations. Ella grabbed the scissors and cut off the thorns. She rushed to the hospital for help, but the nurse was surprised when she saw her face. She immediately decided to implement isolation measures. Ella didn't want to be locked up, so she had to escape. The security guard behind her was about to chase her. She climbed to the roof to hide. After the guard left, Ella hurried out. Meanwhile, Eric learned that the dealer was stalking a girl. Furthermore, from David's testimony at the police station, he noticed that she had most likely undergone mutations. At this point, Ella had no home to go back to, so she could only turn to her best friend Gina. Gina ran away as soon as she saw her. Ella chased after Gina and caught her. She explained that she hadn't overdone it and that something was wrong with the medication. She needed help now. Finally, Gina agreed to let Ella into the house. Ella checked her body in the mirror and found that the mutations were still ongoing. Furthermore, she was very hungry. She searched the refrigerator for some food to heat up. Ella asked Gina if she knew the effects of that vial, but that thing had been stolen by 2 people. How could Gina understand the effects of the medication? Ella wanted to turn on the microwave. She broke the door with a little effort. At that moment, the phone rang. Someone called using Max's phone, saying that he knew all about the changes Ella was going through. He claimed he could help her. They agreed to meet at the silo at 3 o'clock. Soon, a man in black named York appeared. After confirming Ella's identity, he immediately kidnapped him with his assistance. Fortunately, Gina was able to track Ella's location through her phone. She risked her car and followed him. The one who kidnapped Gina. It was the drug dealer who said he could help on the rooftop before. When Gina woke up from her unconsciousness, she found herself tied to a chair. Her mutations became more severe. Just a slight thought, nails grew from her wrists, cutting through the restraints. Ella was driven by a wave of hunger. She tore apart the raw meat on the table. She started eating. The 2 men heard the noise and came to investigate. Ella grabbed a kitchen knife for protection. The 2 dealers tried to explain. They said that they were actually scientists who were being persecuted by Ethera. They were working to crack down on the drug AI remedy and upgrade it so that everyone could breathe clean air. But Ella was in no mood to listen to anything. Just as the 3 were arguing, a group of armed policemen arrived. York handed the last vial to the scientist. He urged her to escape through the back door. He stayed behind to continue convincing Ella, but the police quickly stormed in. They arrested him for Max's murder. York was also arrested on the side as an accomplice. Gina watched the police move in. She no longer knew who to trust. Ella was then taken into custody. She helplessly scratched the sore side of her face. Her ears had already been torn off. Ella's human features were gradually dissolving. She was growing new ears. They looked like elves' ears. She complained to the male scientist about turning her into a monster. But he explained, with the deterioration of the atmosphere, in 2 years, the entire world would have to rely on AI remedy, the Shearer Company. In order to make money, he refused to reveal the formula. Those who couldn't afford the medicine would have to die. However, the medicine in Ella passed the test successfully. She was the hope of saving all of humanity. Eric reached the cell. He had a broad vision. "He's already in cahoots with the police," Eric said. "I can help you get back to normal." Then he took them to a car. They arrived at a certain medical center. The nearby scientist followed on a motorcycle. At this point, Eric was ready to perform a full body scan of Ella, starting with injecting her with an anesthetic. As Ella's consciousness was fading, I overheard their conversation. The doctor mentioned that her metabolism is 20% faster than a normal person, and she had very few neutrophils, which indicated that some tissues in her body is definitely abnormal. A third-rate scientist from a family workshop was able to achieve success before himself. He wanted to monopolize the results of her experiments and combine them with his current research. He was confident that he could lead humanity to evolution. When that time comes, no one will be able to shake the position of the Ethera Corporation. But the scientists are unwilling to help the tyrant, believing that this technology should be freely available to the world. Eric had no right to decide who lived and who died. On the other hand, Ella woke up from the anesthesia. Eric told her her genes have been reorganized. The enzymes produced in her body can neutralize airborne toxins. That means Ella is now completely immune to toxins. Eric claimed, as long as you cooperate with the research project, it will definitely benefit all of humanity. He also promised that after obtaining the gene formula, he would only test it on animals such as gorillas, and he would only release it to the market after making sure there were no risks. Ella couldn't help it, but she asked her again when she heard this, why didn't that global trader give you the gene formula directly? Eric falsely claimed that the scientist was short-sighted. He just wanted to protect his patent and make money. Ella quickly signed the consent form, and she was locked in a closed glass room. Outside the glass, Eric was reporting the progress to her father. He mentioned that Ella's resistance to toxins is 20 times that of existing AI remedy products. If she could survive the extraction surgery, let's break down the gene formula. Ethera will hold the power of life and death over everyone. The old president stated that Ella must be dealt with next because her father was a British diplomat and Asher's plans could never be leaked. Father and son were discussing important matters in great detail, not realizing that Ella's hearing had already developed. She could hear the entire conversation through the reinforced glass. When Eric sensed something was wrong, he immediately pressed a button, which caused a large amount of sedative to be released in the locked room, which caused Ella to pass out. Meanwhile, the scientist stole a truck, disguised as a transport worker, to enter the medical center. 2 staff members entered the locked room, preparing to transport Ella to the operating room. The surveillance room staff finally noticed the situation, and they raised the alarm. But at that moment, Ella had already reached the basement. Before she could break down the door to save herself, a muscular security guard burst into the scene. Ella se escondió en el techo. She took the opportunity to bring him down. She lifted her shirt to show her back to the scientist. The mutations spread all over her body. The 2 of them went to the back door, planning to escape through the ventilation shaft. Ella climbed the wall like Spider-Man. She reached out and pulled the scientist to the exit. On the other hand, Eric learned of Ella's escape. He left behind his youngest son, who had just arrived by plane. He hurried back to the medical center. Meanwhile, the scientist was placing timed explosives everywhere. Eric's assistant quickly discovered the bomb threat. They had to evacuate immediately. Eric gave the order immediately to release mass poison gas within 15 minutes. At the same time, the scientist took Ella to the lab. He prepared to take the active ingredients of AI remedy. That's when Ella realized her body had been fused with the dragonfly's genes. No wonder it developed insect-like heel bones. The scientists introduced that this South African dragonfly is the only species on Earth that was not affected by atmospheric toxins. However, it was already on the verge of extinction. The active ingredients were all in Eric's hand. After getting the medicine, the 2 evacuated. They encountered the scientist along the way. Ella quickly realized the gas was spreading. They immediately headed towards the garage to evade their pursuers. The 3 ran to the bathroom to hide. They saw Eric's son, Mike, in the room. Ella did her best to calm the boy down and took him with her. Unexpectedly, Eric intercepted them along the way. The madman fired a shot without caring about his son's safety. Ella instinctivamente protegió a Mike. Then she jumped to the opposite floor. She quickly met the scientist in the elevator. Soon after, a truck rushed out of the garage. Eric's men immediately shot through the tires to intercept them. But Ella and the scientist were not inside. They had been tricked. At this moment, Ella broke through the protective net and fled toward the southeast. The scientist knew that escaping again was not a solution. He handed the active ingredients to Ella and told her to go to the grain warehouse to find Lazarus. This person had the formula and is able to develop more drugs. Ella looked at him before jumping off the cliff. When Eric arrived, the scientist lied that Ella fell to her death. Eric could only take him away. He intended to force the scientist to recreate the detector. However, in the middle of the night, a figure with dragonfly wings appears on the horizon, and this is where the movie ends. Thanks for watching.